everyone. My name is David Yao. I am a principal at LBank Labs. We are a VC fund investing in early stage Web3 companies. And I am very, very excited to be moderating this panel called Web3 Onboarding, Wallets and On and Off Ramps for the solutions for the next billion users. So before we begin, I want to thank Istari Ventures for hosting this amazing event and for inviting us to be here. And as you guys know, cryptocurrency has an immense potential to bank the unbanked and provide financial solutions globally. However, widespread adoption requires abstracting away complexities and making crypto as easy as using traditional financial services has a lot of challenges. And today we have an awesome lineup of panelists that are working exactly in these solutions. So to kick things up, I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves and also the companies that you're working with.
Cool. I'll start first. So, hey everyone, thanks for coming out. My name is Daniel Lev. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Coinflow. We are focused on enabling instant settlement from credit card purchase directly to merchants, and then also getting those funds directly to bank accounts 24/7/365.
Hey guys, I'm Jay. I'm the co-founder and CPO at Magic. We're a leading wallet as a service provider, and we've so far onboarded 30 million plus users and 180K developers. What we do is we pretty much make it very easy for businesses to enable seamless wallet creation and instantiation. And we enable businesses to create this dApp experience that's indistinguishable from Web2. So key customers that we have on the Web3 side, we have Wallet Connect. They recently added Web3 login with Web3 Modal. And then we have Immutable Passport that's also powered by Magic. We power Helium as well. On the Web2 end, we power big brands such as Mattel, Macy's, and recently we've been working with Forbes, so they'll be launching a legacy pass using Magic.
Cool. I'm Sami. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Transak. Transak is the leading on-off ramp provider, and we provide high trust, high reliability infrastructure to bridge between fiat and crypto. Transak provides on and off ramps for most of the major apps in the space, including MetaMask, Trust Wallet, Ledger, we're the exclusive partner for Immutable X, and we've raised over $20 million from investors such as Istari, who are hosting this event, also ConsenSys, Shawn is on my left here, Animoca Brands, and UOB, and yeah, really excited to be here and speak with you guys.
Hi everyone, I'm Shawn Cheng. I'm a partner at ConsenSys Mesh. We're Ethereum's earliest and first investor. We have about 180 investments. We have an incubator, an accelerator, and invest up and down the tech stack. Excited to be here.
Wonderful. So it's an honor to be with such an amazing panelists. So let's start with the first topic, which is user adoption. User onboarding and adoption challenges. So in your view, what is the primary obstacles that we are currently having in order to get into the next billion users? Who would like to start?
I can start. I think in the last couple cycles, oftentimes we end up forcing new users to do 100 hours of research and work, forcing them to understand things like mnemonic phrases, public keys and private keys, and I think we're at a moment now that we have new primitives that are integrated with things like passkeys, like Magic, that allow for us to really use single sign-in solutions that people are used to, your phone number, your email, and we can actually progressively red pill people and allow for them to understand the benefits of crypto without talking at people and saying, this is different, this is amazing, you should try it, but then the first 50 points of interaction are just setting up their accounts. And so I'm most excited about giving value first and then showing them maybe some of the other auxiliary things that crypto and blockchain can offer.
That's a great point, and thank you for shouting out Magic. So I think we've done, not just like Magic, but the industry has done a great job like since pretty much when Magic started in 2018. And I think we're at a point where we can pretty much confidently say that wallet abstraction has been done quite well. And now the also, the space has embraced that it doesn't have to be a full like self-custody wallet like MetaMask. That needs to be the main identifier for logging in. Now, there's definitely space for MetaMask to like thrive in. At the same time, like people are more receptive about email login, phone number login, SMS, phone number login, and social login, and the passkeys. So at the authentication layer, I think we've solved that. Now, when it comes to how the user signs the transactions, how Magic has positioned so far is enabling this white label experience so that developers can either hide or show the transaction signing experience. So I think more developers should start thinking like that when it comes to servicing Web 2 end users. And then I think on the on-ramping end, which I think Sami can touch on more, I also hope that like there's more steps that can be eliminated when it comes to onboarding, and I think we've seen an improvement on that. But once the on-ramp, signing up through email login or these other Web 2 familiar logins, plus the on-ramp, KYC being very seamless, to signing being also seamless, I think that all three combined, once they are all solved, I think that can be truly indistinguishable from Web 2.
Cool. So I think the first step of getting the billions of users into crypto is to make apps that people actually want to use. And that's something that people often forget. And right now, most of the use cases around blockchain is around speculation, right? People just buy crypto because the price of crypto goes up. But what we're starting to see at Transak now is we're starting to see some apps that people really use for the sake of them being useful, not just for the sake of them being a token. So for example, some of the stuff we're seeing in RWAs, where people are investing in financial assets on-chain. Stablecoins is like a really great use case because you can settle 24/7, borderless. Gaming is compelling, and Transak is powering Immutable X, and we're seeing some really interesting games coming out. So that's the first step, is like having use cases that people actually want to use. Now, in order to get people into those use cases, you basically have like a conversion funnel. And the wallet stuff that Magic is doing kind of sits at the start of that conversion funnel. At the end of that conversion funnel is the fiat on-off ramps. And it's our belief that we currently sit in a world where individuals and businesses primarily live in a fiat world. So most of people's money is held in fiat, and the next billion users are going to come in through fiat. And so what Transak does is it provides a high-trust, high-reliability bridge where people can move money between fiat and crypto inside the application. And so let's take, for example, an RWA app that we're working with in the real estate investment space. In this app, you can invest in a fractional ownership of a property, like let's say a villa in Spain. Now, without Transak, you would have to own stablecoins, you would have to pay gas fees. With Transak, this just looks like a normal Web 2 application. So it's our belief that in the future, they won't call it like DeFi or TradFi or even blockchain apps. They'll just call them apps, and they'll just look like normal apps. So blockchain infrastructure now becomes a back-end technology and not a consumer technology. And that's how we get the next billion users in.
Yep, totally with those points. Also, I think one of the challenges that are normally cited is user experience. So would you like to share some of the user experience advancements that we've seen over the last years?
I think we touched on that in the like when we talked about the earlier points. But I think just to stress again on the user experience, the end goal is to make it indistinguishable from Web 2. And sure, I do think that there will be Web 3 new gigantic like apps that could be its own niche on how they will differentiate from Web 2. And I think there'll be a lot of like separate end users for that type of an app. But I still do think that most of the majority of the world today, they're still used to using a Web 2 app. And I think Web 2 has done a great job of like simplifying UX. But the back end, like as we have talked about, like when it comes to user ownership of data and how you're able to use like stable coins and these other Web3 assets, there's a lot of friction there. So it's kind of like replacing the back end. But on the UX end with Web2, it's already great. So now the challenge with Web3 is how do we flip that so that we can enable a better back end so that user, they don't really need to see what happened behind the scenes, but their life suddenly just got a lot better. But on the Web2 UX, it just stayed the same. And I think we're definitely close to that right now. And Yeah, and as I said, the three pillars, like the wallet, and then the on-ramp, off-ramp, and then the transaction signing, all three have to like work in tandem to get there. And I hope we can see that within like a couple of years.
Yeah, like I'm really bullish on things like Web 2.5. So I think most people at this conference think from a Web 3 framework first. And so you're starting with a game, you're starting with a consumer application, maybe a messaging application. One of our portfolio companies is hang.com. And they're more of a Web 2 first company. So they do loyalty rewards for some of the biggest retailers in the world. So things like Just Salad, Boba Guys, Ulta Beauty, which is like a Sephora. Ulta Beauty's rewards program is bigger than Starbucks' program. And so little does the end user know that as they earn rewards for buying salads or drinks or tea or beauty products, that they are getting a wallet, a custodial wallet initially, but then each and every single reward that they earn is actually tokenized. And so if one day I wanted to trade 100 Starbucks lattes for a first-class upgrade on my next Delta flight, well then I would say, how do you do that? You would go to something called a DEX. And then the end user would be like, I see the benefit, and now you're then educating me on how to get that benefit. And so I'm very bullish on thinking about how can we meet people where they're at, tens of millions of users that are very happy with the version of the internet that they have today, but maybe just a little skeptical and are still hungover from a little bit of the FTX, SBF years that we've had in the past.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to your point, it's the invisibility of the blockchain in the last few years that's enabled those types of experiences. And then infrastructure providers like ourselves that are completely white labelable, and that the end users who are using these consumer applications have no idea what's happening under the hood in terms of who's powering it. Just like we don't know who's powering the Wi-Fi here, who's on presenting the servers. We don't know if it's AWS, Google Cloud, et cetera. And the blockchain's starting to get there. On top of that, other things like chain advancements, there's been a ton of infrastructure investment in crypto. So cheaper gas fees, because 6 years ago when it was just transactions in Ethereum when people are doing that, even the early days of NFTs, that was highly restrictive to most consumers, but now you have tons of different chains competing for these spots. Like you said, Immutable is one of the big chains for gaming. Solana's also a big chain for this as well. And all this competition breeds better UX for the end users.
Amazing. So going with the second pillar, which is the on and off ramps, this is, of course, crucial in order if we want to get into mainstream. What would be the most challenges that you've seen in facilitating on and off ramps?
Well, I mean, the biggest and most difficult problem, and I think the reason why what we do is so, people really value our services is like the global portfolio of compliance, licenses, banking infrastructure that we provide. So Transak has 10 different entities around the world. We have licenses around the world. We have banking partnerships around the world. That takes a lot of time to build up. We also have a lot of compliance operations in all of those regions. So it's not just like getting a license and that's like a piece of paper and you're done. No, you actually have to operate that. So for example, like the FCA just released a bunch of regulations where you have to do like a cooling off period and you have to put some questionnaires. And so that's an example of one of hundreds of product features that we've implemented in order to stay compliant across all of those regions, which means that if a partner is to launch with us, they kind of get that compliance in one package from day one. And so I think that's really like a very, very difficult part. So like when we started Transak, we actually did the ConsenSys accelerator. And me and Yeshu were living in a one-bedroom apartment. And Yeshu was just like coding the whole time. And I was just working on this because I saw that as like the very, very difficult problem like right from the start. And fast forward to today, I think that's like part of the really valuable thing of what we built. The other part of that, and this is where the coding 16 plus hours a day comes in, is like the APIs that we built on top of that stack, right? So we've got this stack of high trust, high compliance infrastructure to bridge between fiat and crypto. And then we've built out these APIs on top of that that kind of act like a Stripe-like developer experience. So it's not just about buying or selling crypto, it's about embedding that into the flow of your application and allowing you to seamlessly use that app as if it were a Web 2 application. And so being able to integrate that into hundreds of different applications I think is another difficult part, and that's maybe why, like a TradFi or like payments company couldn't do what we're doing, because we had that like crypto native technical DNA in our company as well.
Yeah, just to add on, yeah, I think Transak has done a great job when it comes to like developer experience and the API aspect of things. Speaking from like Magic, what we've been hearing from the developers and the end users, definitely like the KYC aspect of onboarding is a friction even still to this day. And what I would love to see is like some innovation around that area where I don't know if the best solution is maybe there's like a KYC as a service type of product that whether in the form of NFT or in a different form of, not sure, like DID or other Web3 format, that can be represented as like you've already been KYC'd. And that can also be generated whether from Web2 side or Web3 side. And if that's pre-populated as a user that's onboarding to adapt for the first time, they would get a wallet behind the scenes right away. And then they would be able to just purchase a crypto asset with a debit card or maybe Apple Pay, just like how you go through Face ID. And they don't need to do KYC. I think that's like the ultimate UX that we would love to see be achieved. I know it's a challenge for you guys, but I think that would really improve everything and also like really help our ecosystem grow a lot quicker and a lot better.
Yeah, so touching on that, I think that a lot of the payment providers have done a great job with minimizing that for certain goods and services. I know that Sam and I can probably talk about what the complexity is that, because buying crypto versus buying an NFT or their goods and services, different models of KYC. But yeah, doubling down on the most difficult part right now, especially in the US where most of our customers, we have over a handful of banks we partner with in the US. It's been educating them about blockchains, crypto, new regulations that are coming down, what we're doing on the compliance side, what we're doing on the monitoring side, and working with them, especially through all the turbulence that's happening in the market. Because as soon as there's an event, they go to Google, and as y'all have seen in the news, the crypto news isn't always positive. So sitting down with those bankers and regulators and talking them through what's actually happening and translating it to words they understand is the behind the scenes work that all of us do, and is one of the biggest challenges of it. But I think I'm optimistic for the future, and it's people like PayPal and others getting in the space has only been able to help that, because we can reference, hey, look, the biggest fintechs, biggest banks in the world are embracing this technology, which goes a very long way.
Imagine if it's hard here in the US, in the emerging markets, like we're suffering much more with that education with regulators. But yeah, actually you touch a very good point on future trends and technologies that could be used in the payments and on and off ramps and wallet sectors. So would you like to speak, for example, from ConsenSys Mesh, what kind of new trends and technologies excite you on this space?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it is a little cliche, but I am very bullish on a lot of the AI elements. Having the dynamic logic where a end user can determine whether it's a game or any non-fi use case where you want it to settle in a stable or USD or ETH or BTC or some other token, that logic and your preferences I think can start to be dynamically served up. I'm also very excited for non-Ponzi-nomic curve outcomes for token launches. How do we get there? How do we actually see products and services and middleware that actually reaches a level of adoption yet still provides enough value over the long term where it doesn't just go up and then go straight down? And I think that comes in the form of starting to have much, much more thoughtful discussions around dynamic monetary policies, or monetary policies that don't front load all of the incentives in the name of user acquisition. And so with many products feeling like their Overton window is closing right now in this cycle, where they feel as though if I don't list now, if I don't launch a token now, then my product might die. I think they're failing to focus on the medium and long term, and the products that are truly going to be here on this stage in bull or bear for multiple cycles are going to be the teams and the products that actually think about that sort of value first, and the token being something that helps to reinforce that. So AI is going to help that. I think decentralized identities and verifiable credentials will help that. And I think just an embrace of Web 2 things that people are familiar with, whether it's e-commerce or even loyalty rewards programs and gaming. And I think showing how crypto can provide value without necessarily making it fully crypto native will open it up to entirely new audiences is some of the short list of things that I'm most excited about.
And thanks for that. Maybe a question for Sami. I know Transak recently reached profitability and with a positive EBITDA. So is there any lessons that you would like to share with aspiring entrepreneurs or people building in the space in these regards?
Yeah, so yeah, indeed, Transak reached positive EBITDA last quarter. And the way that we did that, I would say, is through operational excellence. So everything that we do, we consistently drive down the cost of sales where we're operating in different regions. We're consistently looking for better ways to process payments, cheaper, better ways to do compliance, KYC, to reduce those costs. And so I would say a lot of that also comes from me and Yeshu being technical co-founders. So me and Yeshu both have technical backgrounds, and we've embedded automation and technology into pretty much everything that we do. And as a company, we've built in real-time views of the profitability of all of our different product lines. We kind of know to a very, very deep level, like how much fraud is happening in our systems, where our costs are coming from. On top of that, I would say we've also used technology to build a growth engine in the company where we're able to do sales in a much better, more technology-enabled way. So a lot of customers who come to us, they actually come to us saying like, hey, we went to competitors and they just like, we weren't able to get a response for them. You know, they kind of fell through the cracks. With Transak, all of the conversations that we track are tracked in our system. They're automated, whether they're on Telegram, email, anything like that. So we always have a real-time view of what customers want from us, and we always make sure that they get a response promptly. And then furthermore, we also have very advanced self-serve APIs. So if you don't want to speak to a human being or if you're not getting a response, you can actually just use our APIs and you can drag and drop stuff, and you can really build a very good experience without really speaking to anyone in Transak. So that's enabled us to kind of grow faster. And what's really cool is that we've been growing consistently every quarter, and we've even been growing throughout the bear market. And I would say that's not come from just one action, but just consistent hundreds of actions that we've taken towards operational excellence, and really running it like a business. So like the primary metric that we use in the company is gross profit. So a lot of companies, they'll track like user metrics or like volume metrics and like kind of growth metrics. We've always tracked like profitability metrics because we believe that growth needs to be sustainable, and that provides like a really good foundation on which to find pockets of sustainable growth. And I think like actually some of our competing competitors in the market actually died during this bear market as well. And like love and respect to those guys, but I think that's why we really survived during this market, is because we just focused on operational excellence.
Thanks for that. Daniel, we would also love to hear some of your lessons as well with Coinflow.
Yeah, so we started our company in the bear market, so we'd kind of been very lean as well, and have been growing steadily throughout that. Prior to this, I've been operating in fintech for quite some time, seeing companies grow from seed to Series D when they became a unicorn. Just taking those lessons to operate, yeah, like Sami said, operate a real business. When you're running a payments company and people are reliant to process all the revenue through you, you can't be tracking silly metrics, you can't be messing around, doing crazy marketing, that kind of stuff. So just, yeah, operating a serious business, compliant first, and yeah, customers stay and keep processing through us.
Amazing, amazing. So another question that I think will be very interesting for the audience to hear about is with regards with Magic. I know that recently you have things going on with PayPal, so would you like to share a bit with the audience on that regards?
Yeah. For our latest round, PayPal was our lead investor, and we closed a 52 million round, and they've been very helpful on many aspects. I would say definitely when it comes to keeping check in compliance and on the regulatory side, I think since PayPal on the Web2 ends, and they're a payments company, right? So there's a lot to learn from in terms of like how they're thinking, how they go about like even building a product. And we've been collaborating with them last year on this NFT checkout product, and where like PayPal would be the one that's acting as a payment gateway, and then like our wallet would be the one that's powering the entire flow, where there's like mint and delivery aspects. So let's say a user pays with fiat, NFT gets minted on the fly, and then we would do the delivery of that NFT to the user's actual wallet. So that's where we collaborate with PayPal, and definitely when it comes to like the global like coverage, PayPal has that. And again, going back to compliance, like that's something that PayPal definitely has it down, and there's a lot that we've learned from that on that end. And then obviously on the stablecoin side, they've been making some noise, and recently they launched PYUSD on Solana, and I can't share much on exactly like how they're thinking about it, but I would say them making this move says a lot about how these big payments companies are thinking about jumping into Web3. And there's clear benefits in how, whether it's in stablecoin format or these other Web3 functionalities that are helping these Web2 gigantic payment companies to think about how they can really improve and then be more efficient in how they run. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much a quick summary of like, yeah, what we're up to.
Amazing. And kind of a follow-up question on that regards.
Yeah.
Like, what would you see is the most valuable thing of collaborating with these traditional fintech players?
Most valuable, sorry.
Yeah, where do they provide you the most value, basically working with these traditional fintech companies?
Yeah, I think just going back to learning the best playbook from the Web 2 end. Because sure, like Web3 is a new technology, but when it comes to operating, there's still payments, which is very similar to, again, like as Sami said, like fiat is still the main, like the common denominator when it comes to making payments, right? Same with wallet. It's like wallet is, in the end, it's a private key, public key pair, or you can say it's a smart account, but it's a form of identity. And I think like Web2, there's an identity, but obviously it's scope within the database. It's just reinventing that in a better like foundation. But going back to on the payment side, or like regulatory and compliance side, there's the playbook that's already been done that we can learn a lot from, and that's where they've been providing a lot of value. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, a question that any of you can feel free to tackle on is what will be kind of the challenges that there is in order to go to localized markets? Yeah.
Well, we actually have a lot of experience in this. So we're setting up entities around the world, and some of the entities that we set up in like US or Canada or UK, it's very clear how to do that, right? It may be a difficult and time-taking process, but there's like a very clear, you set up an entity in this way, you apply with this regulator, you get your bank account or bank accounts and processing, and then you're live in that region. So we also set up operations in India. We have a lot of team in India, and that was like a totally different process, right? There wasn't like a very clear framework there. And Transak was one of the first players to get an FIE registration in India. But even after that, it's very chaotic in terms of like keeping the payment operations going in practice. And so what we see, and then also like the cultural aspects of like going into that market is very, very different from like selling crypto in like the UK. Like the way people use crypto is very, very different. So what we see is that in these regions, you can't just think of it as like a copy, paste, drag and drop expansion. You really have to kind of have people like locally on the ground in those countries who like understand the culture. They're like well connected in the system. And so, yeah, that's something like we should have some more updates in terms of like more expansion that we're doing soon. But we're aggressively expanding globally at the moment, and using lessons from India and other regions that we've been going into for developing markets. And also like, sorry, just one more point is that's also like some of the most exciting regions. Because like when me and Yeshu started this company, like one of the visions that we had was like being able to provide the same financial services to anyone, anywhere in the world as if they were in like the United States or in the UK. And I feel like by providing on-off ramps in these regions, we're like starting to do that. So that's a compelling reason to kind of fight through all of that pain in those developing countries.
Yeah, and from our side, we typically deal with, we service merchants. We don't ever sell crypto or these services to end users. So our challenge has been dealing with merchants from all over the world. As Sami stated, cultural differences and how people do business from different regions, time zones, et cetera, and then local payment methods and how people transact. It's changing everywhere in different regions. For example, even the US just launched a new payment rail called FedNow last year, and that's slowly getting adoption. But at a global scale, those types of initiatives are happening in different local markets. So keeping up with those trends, being able to integrate them, and then finding the best partners in those local areas to adopt those financial services and then bring them on-chain has been, one, a challenge, and two, a lot of work. So, and it'll continue to be so because more and more of those real-time payment rails are coming out.
Yeah, we're also starting to expand outside of, not starting, we've already expanded outside of US, and we've seen a lot of growth from Immutable. We power their Immutable Passport through our wallet as a service product, and in the APAC area, we've seen a lot of growth on that end. We hope to grow a lot more in that, on that region as well. And then, yeah, outside of the States, LATAM is something that we've been looking into as well. But on the key management side, we're more like a developer SDK that makes it just very easy for like developers to integrate onto their dApp. We don't have much like friction on the Web2 area because we are not the one like processing payments. We're not the one processing like KYC, other information like that. We're more just like a key management technology. However, when it comes to like the custodial posture of it, that's where we make sure that we're non-custodial and we're legally approved, and we make sure that from technical end, we use a great mix of like iframe and our like AWS and then developers database as well to pretty much like decentralize the ownership of key management, and then obviously give it back to the user. So that's pretty much what we've been dealing with.
Amazing. So I'd actually like to give you also the opportunity to give some, like concluding thoughts and also like advice that you could give to the audience that are working in this space.
I mean, all I can think about is like trading Starbucks lattes since Shawn said that. So yeah, I guess now I'm starting to think about like how can Transak help people trade Starbucks lattes. I don't know why my mind is stuck on that, but yeah, that's my concluding remark.
For us, Transak is 6 years old, right? 6 years?
We were founded in 2019. We launched in 2020.
Yeah, we were founded in 2018. So like similar. Honestly, like this crypto space, it moves so fast on the innovative end, and I think that's a very, from what we've experienced, it's very important that you stay innovative on your end, you stay very flexible in how you think about. There are certain directions that you commit to, but then at the same time, you sometimes just need to do reverse of that and then commit to a new direction. All I'm really trying to say here is that Web3 is very fun. At the same time, there's a lot of uncertainty. And how I think we were able to pretty much thrive until this day, and then we hopefully look to continue to do so, is like really not giving up. It's really that, I would say. And then obviously going back to the Web3 core root, like if you're interested in what you're doing, like if that's your passion, I think that's pretty much the solid foundation that you can really commit to and then build on top of. So that's from our experience at Magic. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and my closing remarks is just remember how long things take to do. Like the PayPal announcement that you mentioned on Solana, that's been going on in the works for a very, very long time. So people are coming to space. There's going to be more innovation. Institutions are coming, but they don't move at the speed. As you mentioned, we have to pivot fast. We're in Web3. Things move quick. We all move quick, but these traditional players do not. So don't get discouraged. Things are moving behind the scenes. They just a lot of times take way longer than we all want, but they are moving and coming, and I'm extremely excited and optimistic about the next 12 to 18 months. More stable coins getting into space, more clear regulation in the US, which I think will foster regulation outside the US as well. So yeah, better days ahead.
Can I say one more, like more serious remark? Yeah, so like something that I've really learned from being in this space for a long time is like, if something seems like a scam or like total BS, and like you can't get your head around that, why that thing exists or why it's so popular, then like there's a really good chance it could be total BS. So like just focus on the things that you really believe in, and don't get like too distracted by all the noise and hype in the market.
Yeah, that's a very important one. Actually, I think we have a couple minutes for questions as well from the audience. So if there's any question. No? Everything was clear? All right. Thank you very much again, Istari Ventures, and everyone.